So Malik ibn Anas radiallahu anh, he was like an imam of Medina. He said a statement that kind of summarizes everything we said. He said that the Sunnah is like Nuh's ark. Whoever rides it is saved. Whoever doesn't is destroyed. And Allah is powerful. It's a powerful statement, bro.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alhamdulillah. Welcome to another episode of Student Sundays. Today I'll be taking over in the host position, inshallah. Almost not here today, as you can see. Qadr Allah ma sha'a fa'al. But inshallah we'll still get the ball rolling, inshallah. So today we'll be talking about holding on to the Sunnah. And inshallah the brothers will drop a couple gems, inshallah.
Inshallah.
Let's get straight into it. Bismillah. So firstly, we should start off obviously with defining what Sunnah is. And who's looking to take the first question, inshallah?
Take it.
La, Mustafa. First question. Defining the Sunnah. What is the Sunnah? Okay, let me just kick things off in it. Sunnah is something that is authenticated back to the Prophet ﷺ from his actions, his speech, and something that he's approved of. So these three things. There's other definitions, but this is like the famous one, innit? But yeah, so we started off with that. What he does, or what he did, what he said, and what he approved of, innit?
Yeah.
So that's what the Sunnah is, innit? Do you understand it through our own interpretations, or
No.
do we get it from like the people that came 600 years later, or 1,000 years later, or do you just understand it through science or technology? How do you understand the Sunnah? Anyone? Bismillah.
So we understand obviously the Quran and Sunnah بفهم السلف الصالح. We understand the Quran and Sunnah with the understanding of the Salaf, the pious predecessors, the first three generations of the Muslims, and that's based on the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. He said the best of generations, my generation, then the ones after me, then the one after that.
خير الناس قرني ثم الذين يلونهم.
So the Sahaba, the Prophet and the Sahaba رضي الله عنهم, and then those who studied under them, the Tabi'een, and then the Tabi'een who studied under them. So the Prophet ﷺ is saying that they had the best understanding of the religion. So of course, then we turn to them for our understanding and our guidance. And that's how we truly understand the Sunnahs, with their understanding. Yeah.
So through the Sahabas, yeah?
Yeah, the Sahaba and the Salaf, yeah.
Because of the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, where he said the best three generations, Sahabas, Tabi'een, and Tabi'een.
Okay. Also another thing. فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلَ الذِّكْرِ إِن كُنتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. So also the ulama as well, who might have come after, we turn to, like, so for example, if there comes a new issue, a contemporary issue, we turn to the ulama of a time, or whoever addressed the issue, basically.
Okay.
Yeah,
and they're the ones that will best know all of the narrations of the three generations. They will know what's the strongest views and stuff like that. Will know most about the sayings of those three generations. So it's best just to return back to the ulama on the issue.
Yeah, and that makes sense as well. So the three generations, the Salaf al-Salih, that's the code, innit? Yeah. It makes sense to follow them because they're the ones that are like the most learned, innit?
And they're the closest to the Prophet as well. Like
exactly.
From the Salaf, from the Atba Tabi'een as well, they had like two teachers and they were back to the Prophet.
Yeah, it's better to get a deen from them than us right now. It's like years later. Yeah. That makes sense.
No.
When add anything?
No.
Okay.
But even before that,
they got a tazkiyah from the Prophet. Like it's mad if you think about it.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. But even before that, like Allah says in the Quran, "Ati'u Allah wa ati'u Rasul." You know, like Allah commands in the Quran to follow the Prophet ﷺ, not just for the people around, but because the Prophet was sent for all of mankind. So we have to follow his rulings and everything he commanded and prohibited. That we have to follow it. That's the first initial like basic thing in it. The obligation of following the Sunnah.
Yeah. That's a good point. That's a good ayah that you mentioned. Have you guys heard of the Quraniyun? People that just follow the Quran. The ayah just completely refutes them completely. Because imagine now, they say we follow the Quran only.
How you're not following the ayah? You're not following the ayah.
But they might say, okay, this means they might do ta'wil of it. They might say something else. But the thing is, how did the Quran get to us?
Exactly.
For the Sahabas, isn't it? Their students carried it all the way to us, transmitted. And then that's the same way that a hadith came as well. So if you're gonna leave that hadith but then take the other,
it doesn't matter. They're picking and choosing what they're taking because it came from the same people. The Quran came from the same as the hadith. So like if you reject one, then you have to, by necessity, reject the other. It doesn't make sense to take one and not the other. Yeah,
exactly. So that's why the Sahabas are really important to follow. And
they preserve the religion.
Yeah, exactly. And on to my next point, inshallah. Following the Sahabas. Why do we need to follow the Sahabas? as Asad mentioned the hadith before about خير أمتي قرني ثم الذين يلونهم ثم, he mentioned that the best of my nation is my nation, then the people that come after and after. But what else? Why should we follow the Sahabas? What's the point? We kind of touched upon it, but just a bit more, inshallah.
He said, a lot of the Sahaba, they spent their whole day with the Prophet ﷺ. Like, for example, Aisha radiallahu anha. They say that half the religion came from her, because there's so many narrations that are only through her, because she was the one who was always with the Prophet in his home and stuff like that. A lot of stuff, a lot of the private life that we know about the Prophet ﷺ is from Aisha radiallahu anha. That's just one Sahabiya. You know what I'm saying? The mother of the believers. That's only one. And do you think how many there are? For example, Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu, Anas bin Malik.
Yeah.
They narrate so much. That's how we got our religion. You know what I'm saying? And then after the Salaf, obviously their students, they came and preserved the religion. They codified it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. They sacrificed their whole lives, a lot of them, to preserve the Sunnah, so it can reach us, to reach the later Muslims. And without the efforts, who knows? You know what I'm saying? That they preserved our religion, like I said. But the Sahaba initially, they carried they heard the narrations, they wrote down, they narrated it to their students, and that's how it got to us here.
And for us to turn away from it is like a violation, innit? Because they went through the whole life, they sacrificed the whole life just for the truth, and then we're just like, it's just like, for example, I see nowadays, when someone says, "Oh, bro, do this, is Sunnah." Like, nah, it's Sunnah, man. I don't want to do it. Back in the day, their mentality was, it's Sunnah. Oh, we're gonna do it. But now it's like, it's Sunnah. I don't want to do it. You get it? Because it's not wajib. It's not wajib. Allah al-musta'an. But
and there's some confusion sometimes. With regards to something that comes in the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, like the Sunnah. People that, even though it was a command about the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, people think like, because it's something that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, it's not wajib. Understand? So there's something like that needs to be, for example, like the beard. For example, that's a big one. Like people, some people, like, they may think that the beard is just Sunnah, like it's mustahab, like you don't have to do it. But it's Sunnah in the sense that it was transmitted, the ruling of the beard was transmitted by the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But it's not Sunnah in the sense that it's mustahab, like it's obligatory, because it was commanded by the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and there's no no contradicting hadith with regards to that.
There was actually a instance where Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiallahu an, he must have been in a marketplace, and he heard from a distance the Prophet ﷺ tell someone in the masjid to sit down. And what did he do? He sat down in the middle of the marketplace.
Okay.
Only because that's hadith. That's the Prophet's speech. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't even obligated upon him. There's no indications that was obligated upon him. But it just shows the level of respect and degree of following that they valued for the Prophet ﷺ. Like imagine you're in a marketplace, bro. And like, obviously, like you can hear the Prophet ﷺ tell someone in the masjid, and he's in the masjid to sit down, and you just sit down in the middle of nowhere. Like it takes
shows dedication in it to the Prophet.
سمعنا وأطعنا. We hear, we just obey straight away.
Sahih.
Unlike us, we have, let's think about it first.
We
is
hear,
it wajib, is it makruh? And then سمعنا وأطعنا straight away.
Even Imam Ahmad rahimahullah, he said that he never wrote down a hadith without putting it into practice. So when he heard that the Prophet ﷺ, gave a dinar to have hijama done on him, he went straight away and he did hijama, and he paid a dinar exactly. So like following the hadith to a T, you know what I'm saying? Like not leaving any of it out. SubhanAllah. That was the state of the ulama back in the day. Like they wouldn't leave the sunnah for anything. They were so firm upon it. And SubhanAllah, nowadays, like, a lot of people just leave it like it's nothing.
Yeah, even nowadays, a lot of people, there's this culture of turning to four madhahib. Oh, this one said this calm, but there's four imams that they're well renowned now. Imam Ahmad, Imam Shafi'i, Imam Abu Hanifa, and Imam Malik. If any of them would come across a hadith, it doesn't matter whose opinion is what, they would follow that hadith. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of people they try to find like a fatwa that suits them, for example. But if I don't know,
so when they're shown a hadith and they're shown an opinion, they follow the opinion instead of the hadith. I see.
So you follow the dalil of,
even though it's clear to you. Because scholars, a lot of them, they make mistakes in it.
Yeah, 100%. as well,
Prophet
like there was an instance where Abu Bakr, he didn't receive a hadith from, I think it was Ibn Umar. He must have heard something. I think, correct me if I'm mistaken, but
one of the two Sahabas, when someone said, I forgot what the incident was, but then they heard it from Aisha and they said, listen to Aisha more. Something like that.
Allah
Alam.
I think there was an instance. There was an instance. Ibn Umar, he must have came with a hadith to the people, and I know this is sahih for sure, but he must have come with a hadith to the people, and the people was like, your father didn't take this opinion, and Ibn Umar, he was angry. He was like, I'm saying that the Prophet said this, not.
Oh yeah.
Ibn Abbas.
I think that was how it went.
Yeah.
So
exactly. Even them, they chose the hadith over anyone that they loved.
Yeah.
Like,
not like it was his father as well. No.
It's mad.
Yeah. So
now we talked a bit about the importance of the Sahabas and why we should follow them and stuff like that. Let's talk about staying away from the opposite now. Because I have to follow the Sunnah, but we should also stay away from the Bid'ah, if that makes sense. And there's a lot of Bid'ah in right now, as you can see today. So like, what's the importance of staying away from Bid'ah? We spoke about the Sunnah, sticking to it, following the Sahabas. What about Bid'ah now, the opposite? Why should we stay away from it?
Well, there's two conditions for your actions to be accepted. There's ikhlas and then muwafiqat sharia, so following the sharia. So you can't and the only way you can know that is by following the Sunnah and how what was I going to say,
how the Prophet
So a person who does an action that is not how the Prophet ﷺ used to do it, then the action is going to be rejected. You understand? That's those two conditions for the qabul, for your actions to be accepted. So if you're not going to follow the Sunnah and how the Prophet ﷺ did it, the action is going to be rejected.
Exactly. Just to add on to that, you talk about the hadith of Aisha radiallahu anha, which is whoever introduces something out of our religion, that which is not from it, then is rejected, innit? So like, I just see a lot of people like Ahlul Bid'ah, stuff like that. They introduce some Bid'ah, they say, we love the Prophet ﷺ, this is why we're doing it, but they're failing on the second condition, which is mutaba'a, following the Prophet ﷺ. And this goes back to the ayah in the Quran. Allah says, قُلْ إِن كُنْتُمْ تُحِبُّونَ اللَّهَ فَاتَّبِعُونِي. So Ahlul Bid'ah, they say, we love the Prophet ﷺ, that's why we're doing these stuff. But what does Allah say? If you truly love Allah, follow the messenger. So if you're doing an action which doesn't follow the messenger, then as much as it doesn't matter how much you scream, I love the Prophet, I love Allah, it's incorrect because you're not following the Prophet ﷺ. Allah clearly says that as well.
Yeah, the Prophet ﷺ said as well, كل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. كل بدعة, every bid'ah, every innovation is misguidance, and all of the misguidance is in the nar, is in the fire. So it's not a light. People think it's a light thing. Oh no, it's mine. Or like we're doing it, we might be rewarded for it or whatever. Like it's a big thing. People don't realize, bid'ah is, I think, and also like it's like some of the ulama say that the bid'ah is worse than like major sins, because a major sin, most people when they do it, they feel regret or they know it's bad. But when people do bid'ah, they think they're doing something good, so they're most likely never going to leave it. That's how dangerous it is, fam.
They will never repent in it.
Exactly, that's scary.
There's a statement like bid'ah is more beloved to shaitan than sins. I think
Sufyan Authority, he said that.
Because a person who's doing a sin, he knows what he's doing is wrong and he might turn back and repent to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But a person who's doing bid'ah, he thinks he's upon
the haqq,
and then he probably won't repent from that if he doesn't know.
Exactly. He thinks he's getting rewarded for it. In fact, he's getting punished.
SubhanAllah, may Allah protect us from bid'ah, man. Allah is scary. Even just to touch on something about the Sahabas, a lot of Ahlul Bid'ah, they speak bad on the Sahaba, or they disrespect him. I think there's a statement from Imam Ahmad, rahimahullah. He said, if you see someone talking bad about one of the Sahabas, then doubt his Islam. Doubt his Islam, SubhanAllah. But how many do you see talking about Sahabas? Umar is this Sahabi is that. SubhanAllah. Even Aisha radiallahu anha, she's this, she's that. SubhanAllah, she doubt his Islam. SubhanAllah.
Because you think the companions conveyed our religion to us, innit? So if you're hating on the people that literally brought us our religion, like a lot of these people when Islam was spreading, It was done by the Sahaba. They were the ones out there fighting and spreading Islam. And obviously in the Sharia as well, they were conveying the Sunnah and protecting the Sunnah. So how can you hate the people that brought you a religion, that made you Muslims? If without them, you wouldn't be Muslim, bro. They wouldn't even reach your lands. Do you know what I mean?
That's a form of ingratitude as well. They went through all of that, and then just for you to like, not even leave it off, you're attacking them, or you're talking bad about them. That's ingratitude. You're not being grateful for what
they sacrificed their wealth and they fought their families, you know, for the sake of Islam. And you're out there, you know, talking bad about them and talking about their differences of that. You know, may Allah be pleased with them all, because like they were there with the Prophet ﷺ. They saw him, they met him, they spoke with him, and then they brought us all of that to us.
Allah chose them to be with the Prophet ﷺ.
Exactly.
He didn't choose us, He chose them for a reason. Because they're the best of people after the Anbiya. So that's why He chose them specifically. You can't just hate them, because it's kind of like you're kind of insulting Allah basically. If you're indirectly in it. Do you see it? Because like if you're insulting the Sahabas, Allah chose them to be there with the Prophet ﷺ. So then are you insulting Allah's qadr, or do you get it? It's mad.
Even the Prophet ﷺ said hating the Ansar, the people of Medina, the helpers of Medina, is from nifaq, and so is nifaq from to hate Ali radiallahu anh. That's just one Sahaba, that's just a group of Sahaba. Imagine the rest hating them in totality, or even hating one. Like subhanallah, but yeah, it's a travesty, bro.
Anyways, we'll move on to the next point, inshallah. So now we spoke about holding on to the Sunnah, or trying to like follow the Sunnah, the importance of Sahabas, and staying away from Bid'ah. Okay, now the next question is, how do we implement the Sunnah in our life? And how do we do with like hadiths or stuff, a hadith that come to us? Do we just listen to it, or do you act upon it? And say, for example, like we talk about the beard and stuff like that. So say if you're a man, young man, his beard's growing now, do I cut it? Do I shave it? Do I trim it? Like, how do I implement the Sunnah basically?
As we mentioned before, you just look at what so firstly, the 3 generations. You know, that call comes before any ulama that we find now, and but obviously just turn to the scholars, to be fair.
As in, like, how do we implement it? So say someone tells us something's a Sunnah, do we like, should we do it or not, basically? Like, for example, growing the beard.
If you know it's a Sunnah.
Yeah, because a lot of people they don't grow the beard and stuff like that.
If you know
do certain stuff.
I think if you know it's from the Sunnah, do it, innit?
Yeah, once you understand the importance of the Sunnah, then you have to like follow it, innit?
Yeah.
So yeah, because like now we spoke a bit about the importance of the Sunnah, so like you kind of have to like implement it, innit?
Yeah, you have to leave off your desires as well. That's an important thing.
Yeah,
leave off your desires for the sake of the Sunnah. For example, a lot of people like their beards, they're straggling, and they're like, you know, they think it doesn't look nice on them, basically, yeah. And so they're like, oh no, I'm just gonna shave, I want to trim it and stuff like that because it doesn't look nice. But you're doing it for as ibadah, you're doing it to follow the Sunnah. You're not doing it to look good. Do you know what I mean? Even if it looks bad, at least you have a beard. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, you should grow that out. As in, a lot of people recognize you. Like, a lot of men, you're recognized by your, like, if you're apparently Muslim. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So a man with a beard, like, you can tell he's Muslim. Like, people will say salam to you, stuff like that. Like, you should be honored by it. You know what I'm saying? You shouldn't even in general, just like in anything, you should be honored by it, following the Sunnah. Like, it's just something that, you know, raises you.
Yeah. No.
Want to add anything? No, I was gonna say a lot of people right now in our time, because you know the whole beard thing, low key is a bit like it's become fashionized, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like people look at it as fashion now, because like if you don't have a beard, you don't look manly or type of thing, something like that. It become fashion. But then, as Muslims, we don't. Obviously, they probably got it from us, innit? But like as Muslims, we shouldn't want to grow the beard due to fashion, innit? Or due to looking a certain type of way. We should do it because the Prophet ﷺ did it, not because it's our culture or these famous influencers. That's what they do.
You know, إنما الأعمال بالنيات.
Yeah, exactly. Going back to the hadith, الأعمال بالنيات. Exactly. You get rewarded for what we do.
Yeah.
Sahih. Okay, cool. On to our next point, inshallah. The reward for those holding on to the Sunnah. What is the reward for those who hold on to the Sunnah? What's the point of holding to the Sunnah? We talked about, okay, they sacrifice their life, stuff like that, but what's in it for us, basically? We spoke about the ayah in the Quran.
No.
If you want to love Allah, follow the Prophet ﷺ, so follow the Sunnah. And at the end of the ayah it says, Wallahu Ghafur Rahim. So Allah will forgive you, actually.
Yeah.
يحببكم الله ويغفر لكم. Allah will love you and will forgive you. So that's one type of reward. Allah will love you and will forgive you of your sins. So what are like the other rewards?
There's what's that? There's some hadith like you get like reward for like 50
Sahabas.
Which hadith is that? Is that?
Yeah, it is. I don't know which hadith it is, innit? But I've heard it.
I keep seeing it, but I haven't checked. Like, is it?
Yeah, I've heard it from reliable people.
But still, like that's crazy. Isn't it?
That's my 50 Sahabas, bro.
Well, what's the hadith if the reward of holding on to
the Sunnah in our times is like holding on to hot coals. I forgot to mention that. The hot coals one, is that what you're talking about?
No, I've seen someone with like 50 Sahabas.
No, I think
there's 50 Sahabas.
I think I read that in
there's another one as well.
Imam Abu Uthman's book or something like that, and he was saying, and I think he was from like the 5th century, and he was saying like because he believed that time was a time of fitna, and so he said that he brought this narration from the Prophet ﷺ, and he said that this is applicable now. So just going on from that, I think it's definitely a hadith in it, but imagine our time if that was the 5th century, where saying like
it's even harder now.
And I feel like no, you're more liable to get that reward because it's definitely more fit and now than the 5th century, bro.
It's a hadith, I think. So I'm checking it out.
It's a hadith in it, but
from Abu Dawood.
I think so.
I think it's the same hadith as the hot coals one as well. I think.
Okay.
Yeah, the Prophet said, ahead of you there lies days of patience, during which being patient is like grasping onto hot coals. And then after that, the one who does good deeds then will have a reward like 50 men who did such deeds. So I think that's the Sahabas, subhanAllah. Yeah, that's the hadith, isn't it? It's a long hadith. Okay.
But even implementing Sunnah in like all parts of your life, you know what I'm saying? Like, so when you pray, obviously follow the Sunnah of it. When you do wudu, follow the Sunnah, etc. Or even just like in the way you act, the way you talk, your mannerisms, your adab, all of that. You have to resemble the Prophet because he was the best. Like Aisha said that his mannerism was the Quran. So obviously, following that and obviously following the Prophet way how he was, is following the Quran as well. Do you know what I'm saying? So I think following the Sunnah in like all aspects, not just like acts of worship, but just the way you are. Do you know what I mean? It should be like how the Prophet was in his adab, in his etiquette, the way he dealt with people, the way he dealt with his family, with his wives, with his children, with everything like that. All of it. The Sunnah is so like broad and vast. Do you know what I mean? Like there's so many narrations on small little things that we wouldn't even think about. Do you know what I mean? But the Prophet did it, and you should think that and saying, I want to be like the Prophet. That's our role model, that's our guide. So we should try and be like him as much as possible.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
I feel like the more you look into the lives of the Prophet ﷺ and look into the Sunnah, it's like you have to take him as a role model, man. You see how perfect he is and stuff like that. SubhanAllah. And just going back to what he said about the Sunnah is just not just you praying Sunnah salawat in the masjid by yourself, forgetting, neglecting your family, stuff like that. Or you get rewarded for even feeding your wife a morsel of food. Imagine that, just feeding your wife something, giving her a bit of food or something like that. That's a Sunnah, and you get rewarded for that. It's not just worship, it's mu'amalat as well, how you deal with the people.
Just the way you are, innit?
Yeah, it's the way of life, bro. It's mad.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'm going on from the rewards. Like there was a narration that mentioned the izzah of the people who hold on to Sunnah, and they mentioned that there was 2. So the first one, as we mentioned before, so the Prophet, I think was a hadith in it. The Prophet compared the people holding on to the Sunnah to the Sahaba, and that was the first part of izzah. I mean, and that's like an honourable thing to be compared to the Sahaba, innit? And the second one was that the Prophet ﷺ, he makes dua for the people who hold on to Sunnah. So those are 2 benefits and the honourable, mentions of people who hold on to Sunnah.
Yeah. And there's another hadith as well. عليكم بسنتي
وسنة
الراشدين المهديين عضوا عليها بالنواجذ. Upon you is my Sunnah and the Sunnah of the 4 Khulafa al-Rashidin. Hold on to them just like hold on to with your molar teeth. Hold on to them firmly. Even if like some
I
trials
think
become.
that those are the strongest teeth in your mouth as well.
Yeah, exactly.
As well, yeah.
So it shows that just hold on to it, bro.
Yeah.
Even other hadith about the hot coals as well.
Yeah.
So it shows holding to the sunnah comes with a lot of trials. Because holding to the sunnah means you're staying away from bid'ah.
Yeah.
And bid'ah is everywhere. Like
Yeah.
it's so hard to like stay away from bid'ah.
Yeah.
Because anyone can fall into it.
Yeah.
Well, actually, anyone can fall into it. We mentioned in the previous episode about Ibrahim's dua. Rabbi Junubni wa baniya an na'bud al-asnam. Ya Allah, protect me and my offspring from worshipping idols. Yeah. How did it even become worshiping? How did it even start worshipping idols? Through bid'ah, innit?
No.
But it started off with the time of those the righteous people, and then they started making idols just to look at them, just to remember Allah through looking at them, innit? And then later down the line, slowly the bid'ah, that just one little bid'ah started, they started worshipping the idol, asking them for stuff and stuff like that. So bid'ah leads to shirk, as you can see from there. So that's why I'm thinking bid'ah it's so easy to fall into shirk, bro. That's why Ibrahim, he made dua, he made dua for Allah to protect him, and it all comes from bid'ah. Shirk comes from bid'ah. But yeah, I was gonna say, I mentioned another reward for following the Sahabas, innit? In Surah at-Tawbah. You guys know the ayah, innit?
Yeah.
What ayah is it?
والسابقون الأولون من المهاجرين والأنصار واتبعهم بإحسانهم
والذين تبعوهم.
والذين تبعوا بإحسانهم رضي الله عنه ورضوا عنه.
Exactly. رضي الله عنهم ورضوا عنه. Allah is pleased with them. That's the reward.
And
If
he's
Allah is pleased with you and they're pleased with you, Allah is pleased with you. That's
Explain
Bro,
that though. So the first
mad.
and the foremost of the Muhajirin and Ansar, the two groups of the Sahaba, and those who follow them in goodness or righteousness, Allah is pleased with them and they are pleased with Allah.
وعد لهم جنات تجري. Allah promised them جنات تجري من تحت الأنهار. Basically Jannah. So who are the Muhajirin Ansar? Who are they? Did they come 600 years after the Prophet? No, they're the Sahabas, isn't it? So if you follow the Sahabas, وَالَّذِينَ تَبَعُوهُم بِإِحْسَانٍ, those who follow them in good. People that hold into the Sunnah, they follow their understanding of the Quran. They follow what they are upon. What does Allah say? رَضَى اللَّهُ عَنْهُمْ وَرَضُوا عَنْهُ. Allah pleased them, they're pleased with Allah. وَعَدَّ لَهُمْ جَنَّاتٍ تَجْرِي مِن تَحْتِهَا الْأَنْهَارُ. Allah promised them Jannah. Just hold on to that. That's a big reward, I can't lie.
Yeah, bro.
That's a
Pleasure
big reward.
and Jannah.
Back to back, bro.
Right.
Not even just رضي الله عنه.
You can't ask anything else, bro.
SubhanAllah. May Allah make us from them, man. Follow them in goodness. Ameen. But yeah, we spoke about quite a few things, man. I don't even know where we are, subhanAllah. Allah understand. But yeah, I feel like was that mostly it? Or you guys want to mention something? Don't hold back. You've got to jump it out. Inshallah.
I just want to mention one thing about the way the religion was preserved, or the way the Sunnah was preserved. If you know about like ilm rijal and like the Isnad and stuff like that, people were very, very, like the ulama were very harsh and stern on, you know, who they took their hadith from. If this person's weak or this person is weak, because they were so determined to keep the Sunnah safe and preserved from, you know, lies and stuff like that, fabrications, all of that, because a lot of people were lying upon the Prophet ﷺ. So like their efforts like can't go unnoticed, and we have to, like, you know, make dua for them because they kept on. Even like for example, Imam Bukhari rahimahullah, he was from Bukhara, which is like present day Uzbekistan, right, which is in Central Asia, very far east. He traveled all the way to like the Arabian Peninsula, went all the way to Egypt just to look for hadith and to preserve it and to write in his book, in his Sahih. And obviously Sahih Bukhari, everyone knows it, it's a household name, do you know what I mean? Like you see the Quran, the Sunnah, from the Sunnah, you know, Sahih Bukhari, Sahih Muslim, etc. So like it's just their efforts, the things that the Imams went through to preserve the Sunnah. Like he traveled so much, even the other ulama, even the Sahaba traveled. One Sahaba, Jabir ibn Abdullah radiyallahu anhu, he traveled all the way from the Arabian Peninsula to Sham. He traveled a 1 month trip just to hear one hadith from a Sahabi he didn't hear. That's how much they wanted to know the Sunnah and the hadith of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So I think just the Imams and the Sahaba, what they went through, and their like the way they honored the Sunnah. Do you know what I mean? It's something we should aspire to be like, and like, that's how much respect they gave to the Sunnah and the Prophet.
SubhanAllah, you just mentioned something, so I was like, wow, I forgot to mention that the Isnad, bro, the science of Isnad, chain of narration. Wallahi, all the other religions, they're jealous. They're jealous of this, because you know how Christianity, the authors are unknown and stuff like that. But us, we know every single person who narrated everything, even the riwayat, the different qira'at of the Quran. Every rawi is all known. Everything's documented.
It goes all the way back to the Prophet.
But that's a miracle within itself, you know, this whole science. SubhanAllah. So
it's a whole science. Like people study it, like they dedicate themselves to it. Like there's a narration from Abdullah ibn al-Mubarak. He's the Imam of the Salaf, rahimahullah. he said that the Isnad is part of the religion. And if it wasn't for the Isnad, then anyone could have said what they wanted. Anyone could have said anything
100%.
about the message, and they'll just accept it. Like, for example, how many figures in like the West do we know? They said, oh, he said this, he said that.
Yeah.
Do we know anyone who met that guy who said that, who brought it to us? Nobody.
Exactly.
Who could know? That guy that just made stuff up. Do you know what I mean? And yeah, but I think there's another narration. I forgot who said it. One of the Salaf, I think. He said that Allah honored Islam as in no, sorry. He said it's gone from man. Yeah, he specified the Isnad as something special for this ummah, as in none of the other religions had it except for Islam, except for our religion.
Yeah.
And that's how we've preserved it. That's how it's preserved.
Yeah.
It's just from the Isnad.
SubhanAllah. Wallah, it's a miracle. I can't lie, it's a miracle.
100%.
SubhanAllah.
And it helps boost your iman as well. If you read about the Isnad, it boosts your iman because you know that what your religion is sahih, is authentically from the Prophet ﷺ. Like we know it, we can go back. There's people living today that can name 30, 40 scholars that go all the way back to the Prophet ﷺ. But you can't say that for the other religions.
And it's still being memorized by millions of kids even. Kids, they don't even speak Arabic.
But that is like...
That's another miracle.
Wallah, that's
But that's like, how can you not believe after that, man?
Yeah, it's in the hearts
Bro,
of
imagine
people.
I give you this.
I don't
this
even
fat book,
understand the language from someone.
No.
Bro, I give you this fat book in, I don't know, Japanese. Memorize it. Bro, imagine if I told you the 7-year-olds all over the world memorizing this book, they don't even understand what's in it.
You know,
But they're memorizing it word to word, letter to letter.
that's
Come on, you have to.
that's one of the miracles of the Quran as well.
Yeah, the miracles of the Quran.
You know, Allah's promised that the Quran won't be changed.
Inna nahnu nazzalna dhikra wa inna lahu lahafidhun.
Hafidhun.
Yep.
It's
He's
memorized.
the one
It's in the
that's gonna
hearts of
preserve it.
people.
Exactly,
It's
subhanallah.
preserved.
Well, like, it should make you happy, man, when you hear stuff like
That's what I'm saying. It boosts your iman, bro. Like,
it should make you happy,
like,
man.
it reinforces your yaqeen, your like
Certainty.
your certainty in the religion. Like you don't have any doubt. No doubt at all that this is the true. This is the truth. You know what I'm saying? It all comes from the Isnad and the preservation, stuff like that. And obviously the Sunnah and the Quran, alhamdulillah, is also preserved.
Alhamdulillah, man. Alhamdulillah. And the Sunnah and the Quran, they go together. You can't have
Hand
the
in
Quran
hand.
by itself.
Hand in hand.
As we mentioned before, like the narrators that brought us the Quran, they're the same with that brought us the Hadith as well. But yeah, they go hand in hand. You can't follow the Sunnah but not follow the Quran.
The Sunnah is wahi. Like it's
exactly.
revelation.
The Sunnah itself is wahi because وَمَا يَنْتِقُ عَنِ الْهَوَى. The Prophet ﷺ doesn't speak
From
out of his own desires. It's revelation from Allah to Jibreel to him. Do you get it? So yeah. Alhamdulillah, man. Alhamdulillah. Wallah is may Allah make us from Ahlul Sunnah, man. Keep us upon this path till we meet him, man.
Ameen.
So I feel like we kind of like touched upon a
I
lot
just
of
want
stuff. We'll add something, inshallah.
leave it off with so Malik ibn Anas radiallahu anh, he was like an imam of Medina. He said a statement that kind of summarizes everything you said. He said that the Sunnah is like Nuh's ark. Whoever rides it is saved. Whoever doesn't is destroyed. And Wallah is powerful. It's a powerful statement, bro.
Allah.
Wallahi.
Allah.
No.
I know
SubhanAllah.
a brother that has an account that's called that.
A little shout out to him, innit? Little shout out to him, innit, bro?
No, that's a very powerful statement.
Yeah.
Alhamdulillah, man. Anyone? Last few gems. Let's lay it out, inshallah.
No.
I don't know, just to wrap up, inshallah, just last piece of advice: hold on to the Sunnah. If something comes to you, someone says, "Oh, bro, look at this hadith I found out about so." Before you sleep, you should say this, and they show you, of course, the dalil and stuff like that. Follow it, implement it, inshallah, and then once you implement it, then tell someone else, because you're going to carry that reward, inshallah. Man dalla ala khairin kafa'ili. You want to call someone to good.
بلغوا عني ولو آية.
بلغوا عني ولو آية. Exactly.
Convey from me, even if it's one of us.
Yeah. Well, like, don't be too shy to like tell people stuff, man, because it's good. Because it's not just you and Allah. There's people around you as well.
And the hadith, من دل على خير فله مثل أجر فاعله.
Yeah.
So like,
Exactly that as well.
Whoever guides someone to goodness, he gets the same reward.
As if
you
he's
show
done it.
someone attend this dars or do this or do that, you get a reward of that.
Well, it could be something so simple, like just posting on I don't know, somewhere, and then be like, sign up to Medina College MCL pool. Just posting that. The amount of people that join it, that wasn't planned, by the way. But just posting something like that, and then people joining it, and you never know what they're doing at home. Like they're probably going through the series.
There's the new Monday series as well. So if you haven't signed up, make sure.
Monday series, bro. You have
I don't think I'm when it comes to, but
it's calm. People that join it through you never know. You get the
Inshallah.
It's calm. If you can't make it, that's another thing as well. If you told someone about goodness that you did, but then if you end up stopping it for whatever reason, they might still carry on doing it, and you're
And you
getting
get
their
reward for it,
ajr. You get, bro, this investment is mad. I can't like just
I've been saying this.
don't be
man.
shy. Just tell people stuff, innit?
Yeah.
Inshallah, yeah.
And also have like people around you, like friends that can like they can just tell things, innit? Like don't just be that friend and just there. He's just there.
Yeah.
Like be a benefit to your brothers, innit? Like tell them a benefit, tell them something you learned, or tell them about this course, about this lesson here. Just, you know what I'm saying? Don't just be that friend just there, just he said this, she said that. Oh, did you see that thing on the news? Don't be like that, innit? Just benefit your friends.
وذكر فإن الذكرى تنفع المؤمنين.
Are not meaning exactly. Translate that, 'cause
So the reminders are benefits for believers.
yeah, exactly. Because you never know, wallahi, you never know. Yeah, one thing you say, whether you post it or you send a message or you say it in real life, it can affect someone. Wallahi, it can affect someone. Like imagine someone just scrolling through something, I don't know, and they come across something. You might even not even know him. Like wallahi, you might not even know him.
Yeah.
But then you're affected by what he said.
He gets your ajr. He gets
exactly.
ajr. Inshallah.
That's why.
It's like the story for the Illuminati, didn't it? I mentioned
Yeah.
episode
Illuminati.
2, I think.
Yes, how we
about
wrote
the Quran.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. He just heard someone reciting the ayah.
And he changed his life, bro.
And he
Became
changed his
a
life.
scholar.
Does the reciter know him that he changed? That's why he changed his life. Maybe if he told him after, I don't know.
Well,
Allah
he should.
Alam. But that wasn't his intention. His intention is to read it.
Yeah, but inshallah, it'll be brought for him, and on the day of judgment, it will be a
inshallah.
benefit for him, inshallah.
Inshallah. But yeah, man, that's about it, man. Alhamdulillah. I think we're covered everything.
Yeah, I think,
Alhamdulillah.
wrap it up, man.
Obviously, the sunnah is way more than this, and there's way more fada'il that we missed out. But alhamdulillah, yakfi, and it will suffice for now, inshallah. Alhamdulillah. See you guys next time, inshallah. Subhanak Allahumma bihamdik. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta. Astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.